Here I am on a late afternoon in the sunny suburbs of Melbourne, Australia. Not a cloud in the sky. And I'm checking out this Fimi Palm 2 to the sound of a train going past in the background. Now, when I was a lad and you bought an electronic device, if they even had them when I was a lad, you didn't expect firmware updates and all that kind of thing. You bought it and it was what it was. But now things get better all the time, and we have to bear in mind when thinking about the Fimi Palm 2 that it's only really been out on the market for a few weeks and actually quite hard to get hold of, and so it's got a long way to go in terms of its firmware updates, and any problems now may very well be resolved in the future. In fact, in its first iteration, when it was first released a few weeks ago, it was pretty hopeless, but now it's not bad. Its picture quality is perfectly reasonable, and not a lot different probably from the Fimi Palm 1, but the physical design has changed somewhat, and they've done something about the audio facilities. And so, is it worth it if you've already got other small cameras? I seem to have a collection of these things. I've got an Insta360 I've got a Osmo Action, Fimi Palm 1. I've got both versions of the DJI Osmo Pocket, and so really, why did I buy this one? I don't know. I've become a collector. Anyway, time to spin it round so you can see my face. And here I am, and it's locked onto me with its face tracking, which is pretty good. Now the face tracking on this does vary from that on the DJI devices, because it picks up any face that it sees, and this means that if I go out of the picture, which I will, of course it's carefully following me, so I'll probably have to go over there and go behind a tree. Let's try that. There I go, leaving my camera bag on the seat. Let's hope nobody steals it, but this is Melbourne, nobody steals anything. Okay, I'm gonna kind of hide behind a tree. It's the only way I can think to do this. Now as I bring the camera back out, as you see, it's just locked back onto my face again, and that's because it will follow any face that it sees. So if it does lose tracking, it may well lock onto the face of somebody else that it can see in the picture, which under some circumstances might not be ideal, but it does mean it is very hard to completely lose yourself from the tracking. I could put this down on a suitable object and walk away from it. Let's try that. I've got it on a little stand thingy, and I'm going over into the children's playground, and I'm going to put it down and walk around. Now the other thing I should mention while I'm setting that up is wind noise. The mics on this thing are it's just a mono system. You can't I'm getting a bit worried about my camera bag. You can't record on it in stereo at all. It's completely unlike the Osmo Pocket 2 in that respect, which is fantastic in terms of its built-in mics and so forth. And I'm over here, come on, that's it. And with this, it's got a mic socket built in, unlike the first version of the Fimi Palm, but it's a mono mic socket, and it seems to have a fairly low voltage, because when I tried using one of my lav mics with it, it just didn't want to know. I suspect, I haven't measured it yet, I suspect it's a 1.5 volt device. I'm kind of guessing, but that's what I suspect. And my decent lav mic needs 3 volts, so it doesn't work. Anyway, but what I did notice is that it seems to be pretty good on wind noise, which the DJI Osmo Pocket 2 is not. Well, it's not bad, but you really don't want too much wind noise going. Now with this, now I've set it down. There we go. Set it down on a piece of play equipment, and I'm going to back away from it a bit and see how it tracks me. And I'm going to go deliberately out of sight. There's a good camera. It's tracking me still, tracking me right the way around here, and it's hard to get away from it. There's nowhere to go. Let me come right the way around here. And look, it's picked me up again. That's pretty impressive. Anyway, back to the sound. What I noticed with this is that there's two mic holes that I can see, and as it happens, when you hold the device in your hand, it tends to be almost impossible not to cover those with your thumb and fingers, particularly if you're holding it in your right hand. It's almost as if they were designed to fall under your thumb and under your finger. But the strange thing is, if you do hold it like that, with the mic holes covered up, it doesn't make a huge difference to the sound. Now the sound's not amazing in the first place, it's a bit rolled off, a bit sort of a bit dampened, but anyway, and in fact if you cover those holes with your thumb and your finger, then blow on the device, you can still hear kind of wind noise. In other words, the sound is being picked up from somewhere other than those mics, but where? Anyway, that's a mystery which I may explore further, but so as I say, sound not fantastic, picture is okay. The HDR implementation seems to be at a glance better than on the DJI Pocket 2, and I think it will do 4K 30 HDR, which the DJI Pocket won't do, and there's none of this cropping business, so in that respect it's got some advantages. Anyway, I'll try and find a test that I can do immediately of that facility, the HDR. I haven't yet tried time-lapse, I haven't tried motion lapse, all this kind of thing isn't really my thing. Well, of course, the other outstanding thing about this device is the battery, which goes on for, they say, 300 minutes under the appropriate conditions. Now, one thing I can see with that would be useful, it would be great for live events, particularly if you're using external sound. It would be great for setting up somewhere where you expect to see some kind of wildlife pass by, and you want to perhaps sit at a little distance with your phone and capture the wild animal as it goes past, and you can just leave it sitting there for an hour or so, waiting for the ideal opportunity before the ideal opportunity turns up, and capture the moment. With many of these devices, just wouldn't work. The battery would be flat before the animal came into view. In fact, the animal would probably make a point of coming into view just after the battery went flat. So anyway, enough of this great long take, and I will now try and set up an HDR demo. Okay, now I've got this on full gimbal lock, so that with luck the picture won't change much when I change the settings. I'm, as you see, looking into some bright sunlight towards a darkened fence in non-HDR mode. Now I'm going to switch to HDR mode, which I doubt whether I can do on the fly. No, I can't do that, but I'll stop this, switch to HDR, and let's see what difference it makes. Okay, now we're in HDR mode, and even on the tiny screen I can see that there's quite a difference in the picture. The fence and shaded areas seem to be much brighter, and I can't really judge what's happening with the highlights, but anyway, it's certainly making a big difference when we're still in 4K 30, and I don't think the picture frame has changed at all. So so that's HDR mode. Now this little clip is with HDR off, but I put it onto the right color mode, which I think is sort of extra color. So I'll just pan around and see what that gives us in terms of the appearance of the scene. There's some nice bright play equipment over there, and as an aid to seeing the resolution, trying hard not to fall over here, there's a chain link fence. Chain link fences are great for showing resolution because as they recede into the distance you can see how much of the pattern of the chain link you can still see. Now here's a helpful train and a helpful train driver. He said there's a guy trying to do a vlog back there, I'll give him a horn to ruin the picture. Anyway, a couple of other points to make. One of the big problems with the first model of the FIMI Palm was mechanical noise, handling noise, and that came a lot from the joystick and also from the button and from the case. It was just prone to creeping, prone to creaking and groaning and so forth, which meant that on the whole you had to avoid doing anything with the controls when you're actually running it. This one's okay. They substantially redesigned the whole case and the buttons and so forth. They've even provided a silently operating selfie button at the top. It's just a touch button. You tap it twice like I now am, and as you see it's spun round, and hopefully you didn't hear any particular noise when it did so. Okay, so I'm now checking the joystick, which I actually had in the wrong mode before. That's another story. So going to the left, and now to the right, now down, now up. So the object of that test was actually to see whether you could hear any handling noise as I moved the joystick around. Can't tell at the moment. So, well, there's my thoughts anyway. It's a device with potential, and firmware will improve. It's got some advantages over the original model. It's got a handy thread at the bottom of it instead of in a weird position up the side. I don't know. If I had to lose one of my devices, or if I had to keep one of my devices, it would certainly be the DJI Pocket 2 with the Creator Combo kit. That really is, I think, the bee's knees of these small cameras. But if your budget is restricted, this one, bears thinking about. It's a complete solution for a remarkably low price. Picture quality is okay, and any little niggles at the moment may be resolved in the fullness of time.